screen, and we are going to start. Oh, I need to introduce again because it. Yes. Hello everyone, I'm Rezwan Choudhury here. I'm working as IBPOP teacher at Abdul Kader Mullah International School in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Today we have with us Hina Thapar. She's a POP facilitator at Sekolah Global Indonesia. Uh, she's going to talk about assessments, and today's session title is about assessment can be fun. Today we're going to learn different strategies how assessments can be conducted in a fun way, and also you're going to learn about professional headshot. So I'm welcoming Miss Henna. The floor is for you now, Miss Henna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rizwan. Hello, everyone. I'm Hina Thapar, and I work for a school in Indonesia, that is Sekolah Global Indonesia, and I teach grade 2. And I'm very thankful to Asna for giving me this opportunity to talk over here in front of everyone. And today we are just going to talk something about assessments. There are a lot of things that we already know about assessments, and there are some things that I have learned about assessments that I would like to share with all of you. Okay, so I'll begin.
Yes, sure, Miss.
Thank you. So, the real goal of classroom assessments is to improve student performance, not merely audit it. So, this is something very, very important. What I feel that classroom assessments are not just for seeing what is the performance of the child, right? It is also to see how we can improve the child, how we can help the child to progress. And something that is very, very important when we talk about assessments is that we should focus more on the continuation rather than the product. The overall performance of the child is very, very important when we talk about assessments. So, what is the purpose of assessment? The main purpose of assessment is to inform learning and teaching. So, when we are taking assessments, like I told earlier, also, our aim is not to see whether our child is outstanding, is he good, it is satisfactory, or still needs improvement. But it is, as a teacher, it is also my role to see that how can I help the child to improve, to get better. So whenever I'm taking a formative assessment, so my main this is of course from the IB document which I'm following, which says that what learners know and understand. It helps me to grasp that, and it also helps me to reflect on the learner's progress. And one of the main aims of assessment is whenever we have our assessments, we also give a feedback to our students. That is very, very essential. So, learner, and after that feedback, it helps the learners to set their goals and make decisions as to how to achieve them. So, this is one of the essential aspects of assessments, for especially for the learners. Then, what is the purpose of assessment for teaching? For teachers, what is our main purpose of assessment? It's like I told you, it's not just grading, that okay, we have done the grading for the student and our work is done. Absolutely not. Because as a teacher, I feel it is essential that we also look at how the child is developing each and every day. As we all know, we have different levels of students in our class, and we need to focus on each and every student where we emphasize on differentiated learning. So, teachers become more effective continually learning about the learner's progress. So, when we are taking assessments, it is also a feedback for the teacher to see where is she lacking behind and how can she help the students to move ahead, reflect and adjust on her teaching, and offer specific and well considered feedback. This is very, very important to give the feedback to the students of the assessment. So it has two things. The feedback, when we are talking about the teachers, it focuses on feedback of for the student and feedback of the teacher, because assessments also help us to know where are we standing as teacher and what is more that we need to work on as a teacher. So continuous, these were some very nice quotes actually that I found, and I just thought of putting it in my slides. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. So I feel that when a child is continuously improving, his level of perfection or his level of achievement will be better rather than when after few years when the child has to struggle as and it is in stress to achieve that level, I think uh, giving a continuous feedback, a continuous progression for the child is much better for his or her development. I see student assessment information as a feedback on my teaching that I just spoke about. Just because teaching took place, it doesn't mean learning happened. So, this is a quote that we really, really need to reflect on as teachers. Just because teaching took place, it doesn't mean that learning has happened. Just because we've taught something in class or we've inquired into something in class, that doesn't mean that the student has understood. We need to have repetitive activities, lot of interactions with the students, lot of inquiries going on in the class for the student to understand what we are teaching. And when we are talking about assessment, one of the major things as a teacher that I have learned as a PYP teacher is assessments are continuous. You cannot just say that, okay, after 1 month or after 6 weeks, I took the assessment, I'm done. No, it is continuous. How continuously you can take the assessments? Maybe you can just also keep doing your anecdotal records. That is also very, very essential when we are talking about assessments. So, what is an effective assessment? When we are talking about effective assessment, what is it? It has to be authentic. It has to support of what we are teaching the children, and it also has to resonate with the real life scenarios. So when we're talking about real life scenarios, I also consider about even the third teacher that we have in the class, our environment where we are teaching. That is also very, very essential, because every time you cannot just have paper pencil. So the assessment has to be authentic, where the child is actually focusing on what he's understanding from his everyday life. Clear and specific. This includes desired learning goals of the child and also focuses on the success criteria. We will talk more about success criteria in my later slides. Varied. So when we are talking about varied means that we need to have effective assessments for different students in our class. I cannot say that I have prepared this one assessment for my students, whether it's formative or summative, and I'm done. No, every child is not up to that same level. I need to focus on the individuality of the child in my class. I think that is very, very essential for me as a teacher if I'm looking at the progress for each and every child in my class. Developmental. When I talk about developmental, I focus on the regular, the progressive performance of the child. That yes, every day, after every 2 days, the child is learning something new. He is doing something new. He is developing his skills. He is developing his learning. That is very, very essential. Collaborative. So when we are talking about if assessments being collaborative, we are talking about collaboration between the student and the teacher, where success criteria plays a very, very major role. And also about where when we are talking about assessments, also the teacher is having a hand holding of the students also in the assessments, where we are discussing what assessment is, what are we aiming at when we are talking about the learning goals. So that is very essential. Next is interactive. Assessments have to be interactive. You cannot just give the student paper and say, okay, no talking, you're done, that's it. No, because like in my later slides, I'm going to talk about how we can make it interactive, how our students can be more involved, more engaged when they're doing their assessments. Feedback and feed forward, very, very essential aspect for assessments. So I not only about assessments, actually feedback, I will also say even in our regular class time when we are with the students, feedback is very essential. The more feedback they'll get from us, the more they will go towards their progress, the more they will learn about, okay, feed forward. I'm sure everyone is quite aware of the word feed forward, where we are giving the feedback and then we are expecting the child to work on a specific goal. That is a feed forward, where the child is aiming to work. where the child is aiming to go ahead. So that is the feed forward. So that is very, very essential. Feedback and feed forward. And whenever you're giving a feedback, always make it a point that you are giving a feedback individually to your child. Do not give it in front of the whole class. Give each student in your class that importance, that preference, where they feel that yes, I am a valuable member of the class and my teacher makes me feel that yes, I am important in the class. So whenever you're giving a feedback and whenever you're setting a goal with your student that what is going to be their next step, try and do it individually with that child only. That really, really helps. And one more thing for feedback, I feel is appreciation is very essential, because even if the child has not performed very well, but when whatever he's done, your few words of appreciation gives him the courage that yes, I can do this. It's okay, I have not done this time so well, but Mrs. said I have the potential in me, I can do that. So that really, really encourages the child to work hard and to reach his full potential. So, as teachers, I will always suggest that do appreciate your children as much as you can. It's very essential for them, especially if we are talking about lower elementary. And of course, even for upper elementary too. But yes, appreciation, never forget to appreciate your student. Okay, so this is again something that I've taken from IB, from the assessments folder. So, which says what is an effective teacher? Like, what are the points that a teacher should consider when she's planning the assessment? So, there are a lot of points that support students to become assessment capable, uses data and evidence to perform planning and teaching, understands the purpose of assessment, collaborates to design moderate assessments, gives effective feedback, shares evidence. Oh, yes. And one more thing, when I was talking about feedback, sorry, I'll just go back to my point. So, when you are discussing with your child about anything, when we are talking about feedback, always show them that what was the thing that they have missed and what was the thing that they can improve on. Just telling them that, okay, this is not correct, you need to do it better, that is not a feedback. A feedback is where you are telling the child what is the thing that is incorrect and where he needs to go, what he needs to do to do a better performance. We need to explain to the child clearly. When we are talking about feed forward, this is very, very essential. Okay, so effective teachers reflects on evidence and data to improve practice, plans multiple opportunities for success, supports student reflection through modeling. So again, so what I was talking about feed forward, so modeling comes here where you're actually telling the student how you need to go ahead with the progress. So these are all the criteria for a capable assessment practitioner. But two things that I found really, really essential. One was actively learning about the student's progress. This is very, very important for a teacher, where you know in your class about each and every child what is the progress, whether it's in UI, whether it's in English, whether it's in math, and how you can help that child to improve, get into a better level. Monitoring what learners know, understand, and can do. So that is why I'm saying when we are talking about this point, monitoring what learners know, understand, and can do, we cannot get to know this if you're just doing one assessment after 2 weeks. No, even the class interactions that the child is doing, give, even whatever they are talking about, their normal conversations, they help us a lot to understand about what they have learned, what they have inquired into. When we do short role plays in the class related to a UI, or when we are playing some games in the class related to math or English, that really helps us to monitor what the learners know and they understand. And that is a kind of an assessment. Okay, and you can, if you find it difficult that how are you going to record this, just quickly note it down, and you can just keep making your anecdotal records for that day. It's really helpful later for making your report cards as well. Okay, students' assessment capability. So, what do we expect from students? Partnering with teachers to design their learning goals and success criteria. So, success criteria is very essential, which we will talk about in the next slide when we are talking about assessments. Every time we do an assessment, we have to frame the success criteria with the students. It has to be in correlation with the students. The teacher cannot design it on her own. Being able to self assess and discuss their progress towards achieving learning goals, this can be a very essential part for feed forward. When we talk about feed forward, this is very essential. Selecting evidence such as samples of their learning that best demonstrate the intended learning goal. So this, when we're talking about students assessment capability and when we're talking about selecting evidence, this evidence can also be part of our portfolios that we need to prepare, right? And we show it to the parents during our parent teacher conferences and also during our three-way conferences. So it's selecting evidence that shows how much the child has reached towards the learning goal. This can be very essential part for our portfolios. Developing the metacognitive skills to reflect on their learning and plan the next steps. This again focuses on our feed forward. Drawing on feedback and multiple strategies to adjust their learning and identify where and when to make improvements. So, this is part of our feedback, which is very essential. So, when we are giving feedback as a teacher, we also need to know about our own strategies, that what are we aiming at, how do we need to talk to the child, what do we need to tell the child, and again, how do we need to make the child feel special and appreciated, even if there are some errors? That's absolutely fine. We all are learning. Till date, we are also learning. So, they've just entered the stage where they're learning. Rizwan, I hope I'm not too fast.
No, miss, you are absolutely correct. You can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so here comes a very important aspect of assessments, that is success criteria and co-constructing learning goals with the students. So, what is a success criteria? Success criteria describes what quality and achievement will look like. They are specific and measurable. So, agency success criteria, I'm sure this is, I think, a bit small. So, I'll just read it out for all of you. So, here is a student who's saying, I work with my teacher and classmates to create learning activities. So, it is not the teacher who's totally involved in doing everything. The teacher is also taking the help of the students to get involved in their learning. And when we do this thing, the students are more engaged in their learning when they know that yes, we are involved in our learning and we can do something with our teacher as well. So over there the aspect comes that the teacher is, they don't feel that the teacher is just a teacher and she's just teaching, but they feel that we all are involved in this learning process together. I get to choose ideas to explore on my own. So here agency plays a very important role where we are talking about voice, choice, and leadership. Ownership. So here agency plays a very important role where she's saying I get to choose ideas to everyone on my own. Then over here, the next one is I can identify and solve problems to advocate for change. So when we are talking about success criteria and when a child is talking about change or my perspective, if you see indirectly, they are also touching the key concepts that it is very essential for us in PYP talking in integrating the key concepts, and sometimes integrating the key concepts is not that easy, but when the child comes with it on its own, that is a totally different scenario. That means you have definitely ticked one checklist that yes, the key concept is achieved.
Exactly.
I am driven by my passion to create a new idea or products. So here again, the child is driven by the passion. That means the child is taking the ownership of creating something. So agency
Student
again,
agency.
yes, agency again plays a very essential role over here. And I own my learning by making relevant connections through collaboration. So over here, when we are talking about collaboration, we are not just talking about collaboration between the teachers or the teaching team. but we are talking about the collaboration between the teacher, the homeroom teacher, the single subject teachers, and the students. So when we're talking about collaboration, there are a lot of times when we have to do our summative assessments where we feel we cannot do it alone. There is a single subject teacher who's collaborating with us, and I think they can also take part in this. So where all of them, the single subject teacher, the homeroom teacher, who's doing specifically inquiring into the UI, and the students, they all take the part in it. So I can give you one example from my recent UI that I was doing. So we were inquiring into marine life, and we were integrating it with arts, visual arts. So the visual art teacher suggested that why not the children make the dioramas about marine life, and then the students made their dioramas, and for their summative assessment they did two things. With their dioramas, they explained their understanding about marine life and what is causing it harm and how is it very useful for the human beings. They explained all that. And secondly, because of the diorama, because they were so comfortable with that, because they had made it on their own, they were involved in that learning process. We were also talking about descriptive writing that time in our English. It became so easier for my students to write about everything what they had spoken about, because it was everything that they had created, they had done. So it was absolutely student agency where they had their voice, they had their choice, and they took ownership of their own learning.
Great.
Yeah, thank you. So this is how we can just involve our students, and it is very, very essential to collaborate with our single subject teachers. I'm not saying that every unit you can collaborate, but the maximum you can collaborate with at least one single subject teacher. It is really
For
beneficial
each
for the
unit.
students. Sorry.
For each unit.
Yes,
Each unit.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. For each unit, at least one single subject teacher, because then it just gives students some other passion, because being in the class for the whole time, and we all know that they're super excited when they either have to go for visual arts, dance, drama. So they're super excited that time. And when we do the integration with these single subjects, they take the ownership so well that as a teacher you do not have to, I can use the word force to take the ownership, but yes, they take it on their own, that okay, I'm going to do it. And of course we are giving the students the liberty, and that is why we have these assessments where we get to know that what is their learning, how much they are able to tell us, and then of course feedback, feed forward takes the next step from there. Still to read the last one. I'm able to lead groups to make changes in our community. So again, if they're talking about I'm able to lead groups, so two aspects come here when we are talking about they're being risk takers, and secondly, we are also helping them to be leaders in the future.
That's great.
So so success criteria is very, very essential. How we do the success criteria, I have an example to show you of how I have done in my class with my students. So this is an example of the success. So this was an assessment, a formative assessment that I was doing on nouns. So the students had to I read the passage and identify the common and proper nouns. And over here, it was with the nouns, they also had to write the sentences correctly using the capital letters, full stop. So this was a self-assessment that they had to write over here. And then we planned on the success criteria. So what is the success criteria? I gave them the first point. So wherever I have two sections that I'm teaching, 2A and 2B. So I've specifically mentioned in 2B which student said what to frame the success criteria, and in 2A which student said what. So when the success criteria was framed, after that I showed them their assessment, and then the rubrics was created on the basis of the success criteria created with the students and the teacher. So this is what is success criteria. So I gave the first one, begin the sentence with capital letters. Then there was a girl, Yoya, who said, end the sentence with a full stop. Name the person or a place with capital letters, because they are talking about proper nouns over here. Letter I has always to be capitalized. Why is she talking about letter I? Because in sentences, there are a lot of time letter I is there and they are just, they were new to it, so it was fresh in their mind. And days of the week, months of the year, this was of course given by me. So same thing when I spoke to grade 2A, they said using capital letters for proper nouns and always use lowercase letters for common nouns. So sometimes they might have just the same criteria, but that's absolutely fine. You can write it down even if they have the same criteria. Over here, appreciation plays a very, very important part where you feel that where the student feels that I'm admired, the teacher appreciates me, and the teacher knows that what I'm saying is right and she's acknowledging it. So that is very, very essential for a student. Okay, so I have just put one example over here for success criteria, and this is how you can do either for math, you can do it for English, you can do it for your UOI, for everything. I keep drafting the success criteria like this with the children. Of course, you have to do a little bit of hand holding, especially for the lower elementary. But upper elementary, I think once you are done framing one, then they know what do they have to do for the next one. Okay, our favorite types of assessment. So, assessment for learning, formative assessments, we all know that, right? Formative assessment is for your single subjects, for your English, math, and even for your UOI, when you're doing your LOIs, or even when you're ongoing, it is ongoing. And assessment of learning is summative assessments that we usually focus for our UOIs. And this is something very, very essential that is known as assessment as learning. It is part of the formative assessments. But I have been hearing about this assessment as learning, part of the formative assessment. But actually, what is it? So, I had the opportunity to attend one of the workshops last week to understand what is assessment as learning. And I would like to share it with all of you since I've got this opportunity. So, this is assessment as learning. So, I was doing verbs with my children in class, and this is the criteria that I have set for them. I understand what are verbs, I recognize verbs in a sentence, and I can write my own sentence choosing a verb independently. So over here, the student has written everything in blue. The student has written what is a verb. I understand what are verbs. The student has written verb is an action. If your student is not comfortable in writing, maybe they can just tell you verbally that miss, verb is an action. If you're in class doing a face to face, you can make a chart over there and you can just put a star for him that, okay, 1 star, you have answered this. Next, you are giving them sentences they have to recognize. So this child over here has recognized the verbs. And if the child is reached till here, then of course the child get 2 stars. And if the child reaches the third stage, so this child was able to do all three. So this child gets 3 stars. So this is something where you can, like I'm telling, you can put a chart in your class. Maybe you give them a task sheet, but when you're discussing it in the class, you put it on a chart in the class, and maybe they will be thrilled to see that, oh, I've got 2 stars, I got 3 stars. Okay. And the students, those who are not getting it, then of course, individual feedback is very, very essential for these students, where you are talking to them individually until wherever they have reached. Even if they have reached first 2 stars, 1 star, please keep encouraging them always. I know sometimes we have a lot of work in school, sometimes we are too stressed out with a lot of things, but the child, all the students in our class, they have to feel that yes, they are a valuable member of the class. And that is how the students, they develop the love and the bonding with the teacher. It's very, very essential. So this is assessment as learning. So this is something I had done for English. So similarly, where I had done my PD, so they had shown me something in math as well, where the 1 star, so she had given them a story sum, and they had to find out the addition, calculate the addition sum. And 1 star was given, so the teacher had put the criteria over here. I can find the answer. So the student just wrote the total number over here. Suppose it was 45. Okay, done. 2 stars were given to the student when the student showed how he has added, what he has done to get this answer. So maybe the student wrote the two numbers that he's added to get the answer 45. And the third aspect was where the student wrote the sentences. This person had these many candies. The second person had these many candies. The total number of candies they have this. So then the student got 3 stars. So this is again assessment as learning. So assessment as learning, if in simple words, as I say, is focusing on what you are teaching every day to the student. Is the student understanding what you're teaching? Is the student comprehending that, okay, today my teacher has taught this, yesterday she has taught this. So even if you have two things and you just want to take an assessment as learning, it is absolutely fine, because it is better for you to learn beforehand, like I said in my earlier slide, rather than reaching the last point and we say, oh my god, he doesn't know it. I think then we as a teacher need to work more harder. Okay. Okay, so now assessments can be fun. So a lot of times, like earlier when I had joined as a teacher. So if I talk right now, this is my 16th year as a teacher and completed 8 years as a PYP teacher. So I used to always think that, okay, I have to prepare a task sheet and give to the students. That's the assessment. That's it. But no, I think so many years into teaching, I have understood that we can do multiple things in order to get the assessment, to understand what my students' knowledge is, what my students' learning is. There are many things that we can do in the class, and multiple things. And you can also use them as your formatives. You can also use them as assessment as learning. So role play. Role play, in fact, we have also done role plays during our summative assessments when we were inquiring into community helpers, and when we were also inquiring about balanced diet. So we've done role plays for our summative assessments as well.
And students loved it, especially early as learners.
Yes. And then environment as a third teacher, where you can see from the environment, take objects from the environment to make to understand the students learning. This I'm specifically talking about math and in lower elementary, where you give them blocks, you give them some toys and tell them, okay, show me the addition. Normal, just take color pencils, show me the addition, show me the subtraction. So this again is your assessment as learning, as for your formative assessment. And then you have verbal presentations, where sometimes the students is not in mood of doing the assessment, or just the word assessment only puts them off. Okay, I don't want to do it. So yes, just verbal presentation, just talking to the child verbally. Okay, you don't want to do the writing part today. Okay, let me know verbally, what do you understand? And you can just write your anecdotes and you're done. You know that you understand what your students learning is. Diorama, I just spoke to you about the dioramas. Diorama is very, very interesting for the students, where with my experience, I can say they got so curious and so inquisitive about how are they going to make it, what are they going to use, how are they going to get involved in it. So they were super excited to make the diorama, and it was really great experience. Illustrations and doodling. So sometimes what you can do is, like suppose when I was teaching grade 1, we had our English writing on story writing, because we were inquiring about stories. So our English, we were focusing on story writing. So I had given my students two choice. Either they can doodle their whole story and talk like verbal presentation in the class, or they can, sorry, or they can just write it down. So a lot of students chose of doodling and doing illustrations and then talking about their fiction story. So I had given them 2 3 topics, like if you get a magic pencil, if you go to space. So a lot of students, it was very interesting to see how one child had drawn himself sitting in the rocket and flying towards the space, and he could explain everything, what he wanted and what he was thinking about and what his story, his fiction story was about. So these things, when, so my point over here is that when you give them the ownership of their learning, they're totally involved in it, and they get so enthusiastic that sometimes you have to control them. Okay, calm down. You will get a chance, you will get a time to do your things, just calm down for the moment. Graphic organizers, they are very, very helpful for the upper elementary. Graphic organizers are very I'd say the more interesting graphic organizers a teacher makes, the more involved the student will be. That is my understanding. Because when I was working, I have worked for 2 3 years with the PYP exhibition. The more graphic organizers I made for them to inquire into their topic for the PYP exhibition, the more involved they were in finding out their research. Comic books. So there are a lot of things on which you can do comic books. So my first comic book that I had made with my students was again on stories. There, this was in some other school that I had done, and this was I had done it in for prep 2, not even in PYP. They were the early years, and we had made comics books. Of course they cannot write much, but yes, one sentence, and their comic books were amazing. I as a teacher was amazed that students can think so much. A 5-year-old, a 6-year-old can think so much to make a comic book. So this is another part of your assessments where you can also use your comic books not only for your UI but also for solving your math problems. When you're teaching them story sums, comic books can be really helpful, where they can choose their favorite characters, make their own stories, and they do brilliant job in this. Exploration table, again, you can lay down a table for the students, and you can keep asking them questions, and you can make a checklist or a rubric depending on what you want to make about your exploration table, and then you can just go ahead with it. Let's go to my next slide. I think I've explained all of them, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and few more. Roll the dice. So roll the dice is where you can give the chance to the students to roll their dice, and they can ask, and you might have a list of questions, or you might have something for them to inquire into, and then again it's a fun activity for them. Roll the dice. You can also make a chart where according to numbers they reach a point, and then there is a question. So they have reached number 6. What is the question on number 6? Maybe you just make it till 10. What is the question on number 6? You make a race track, and they are super excited. You can use a small toy car, and you see the excitement of the children when you do all these fun activities with them. They will not even realize that their assessment has been done, and you as a teacher are also satisfied, and the students are super excited to give their answers. So roll the dice is one of them, where they can roll the dice, make a race track for them, keep a small car, and then if the number they have reached, suppose you have 10 questions to inquire into, and then you ask them, okay, what is of number 6? This is your question. Number 7, this is your question. Roll the dice can also be done for in pair assessment, where they can ask each other, and you give them a checklist, and then they can just tick. So this can also be quizzes. Yes, quizzes is something can be used as assessment as learning, but yes, you cannot be used exactly as a formative summative, definitely no, but even as a formative, no, but yes, you can use it as assessment as learning. Exit slip. Exit slip is very very important, because in exit slip, actually you get to know the learning about the student, what has he actually learned. And exit slip, I also feel, is very important for the teacher, where the teacher gets to know the student's learning and where she has to go for the next step. Because exit slip is totally up to you what kind of questions you want to frame for them. What is your learning on, suppose if you say, what is your learning about stories, or what is your learning about fractions? Where do you rate yourself? Where are you still? What do you want to learn about more about? So when the answer comes about what do you want to learn more about, then you get to know that, okay, here is like my class is not understood, and here I need to improvise. So exit slip, I usually do an exit slip after every I think 2 days, whenever I am done with something, and then I take an exit slip to know whether my students have understood what I'm teaching them since these 2 days before I go to something new. Games in the class. Games in the class, I have some pictures to share with you that I'll show you how I've been doing it online. Okay, and visible thinking routines. These are just fun, and children enjoy them. And as teachers, it becomes very, very easier for you to follow them. So
Kind of
I
an
have been
open-ended questions. It's a kind of
Yes,
open-ended question, so students
yes,
can show their
definitely.
whole creativity over there.
Yes, yes, Rizwan, absolutely. So I am attending Ron Richards' workshop for visible thinking routines. He is the one who has created the visible thinking routines. And so I'm sharing a few over here. You can also go to his website and have a look. But these are very, very, I'll say, engaging for the students. And it can be done in pairs, it can be done in group activities, it can be done individually. And it is like, especially if you talk about the upper elementary, they really enjoy doing it. For lower elementary, you, of course, you have to explain to them each and everything, but the upper elementary really enjoys it. Give one, get one. So here are some examples that I have given. So I'll just read one or two for you so that you know what idea do they have over here. So record your response to the given topic, prompt, or question. Share one of your ideas with your partner. Get one new idea from your partner. So this can also be done as when suppose we are inquiring into a UI and we have suppose shown them a video, and then I tell the students that okay, you write two things that you find, that is, suppose if again I'll take the topic of marine life, that the two things from this video that you find are harmful for marine life. So each student will write two things and then we pair them up, and then maybe the other child has written something different. So this will
They
increase
can share
their,
each other.
yes, yes, this will increase their exploring power. And sometimes what happens, when a child learns something new, he wants to research about it. This will also put them as thinkers, because they might ask their friend, why have you put this point as oil spilling? I have only put plastic waste. So then when they discuss about it, they learn more, rather than the teacher always talking, talking, talking. When they discuss with each other, they learn more and they want to inquire more about it. So this is one example. The second one is 3-2-1 reflection. So this can be as part of your exit slips. Things I've learned, questions I still have, challenge I face. So this can be part of your exit slips. And the next is share, ask, ideas learned. So the first one is presenter shares a plan, project, or idea, learning artifact with the group. So this can be used as your formative and sometimes also as a summative. It depends how, as a teacher, you want to take it forward. Ask clarifying and probing questions to the presenter. Group offers ideas for improving the shared piece. Presenter records the suggestion. And presenter states what they have learned or is taking away from the conversation, stating any new thinking about the shared piece. So the child is presenting, but the child is also learning new things from his or her own friends. So this can also be part of their assessments, where the child is learning something new from their friends. So as I told you, the more they learn from their peer group, the more they enjoy it, the more they feel engaged in it. So I feel we should look for more ideas where the students are more and more involved. They take the ownership of their learning, and a student agency will automatically fall into place. We don't have to create a special environment for it. Okay, so here are some of my examples. So this was about prepositions that we were doing, and I'm teaching online. So this is how this girl showed her prepositions: beside, inside, outside, above, behind, below. So this is how we did about prepositions, and this is something we did about fractions, where we were talking about whole, into quarter, or into half. So assessments, these are an examples that I don't always focus on just writing, writing, writing. My assessment is also about doing activities like this online. This was when I
Hands-on
was
activity.
online. Yeah.
Hands-on activities.
Yes, yes. So this is like an experiential learning for the students. When we are talking about bread, after we did this activity about the bread, I told them, okay, whatever I give you now, I'm going to give you a break. You want to put butter, jam, chocolate, whatever, make a sandwich and eat it. And they had fun. Like, okay, so their assessment is also done. Like I told you, they are not aware. Their assessment is also done
It's a kind
and
of
they
fun.
had fun. Yes, yes. And they have fun as well. So I always try to, make my assessments or the learning for the students very, very engaging so that they are always involved in their learning. And we all know that online is sometimes very, very, tiring for the students. So we need to keep looking for new strategies and criterias where our students can be happily involved and they look forward to our class for the next day. Okay, I think I am done with my presentation.
Thank you,
And
Miss.
I'm
Thank you
more
so
than
much.
happy. It's my pleasure, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
So far, we don't have any question anymore. Some of the audience there wrote hello, like Shajina. She wrote hello. Then Jinia, she was a speaker as well in last week. She wrote
Okay.
good evening. Then Hayat, she wrote very interesting topic. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So most of them, they loved it. I think all those
Oh,
wonderful
that's great.
strategies.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, miss. Miss, we have one exit ticket, so I'm going to show the screen,
Yes,
and I'm going to share the screen. So can you stop the sharing for a while?
yes, sure. Uh, Rizwan, I think you need to help me.
Sure. You can click on the share button, and you can see there is a stop sharing. Or let me share it from my end.
Yes, you can just share it from your end. I think that'll be fine.
So I'm going to share the link with the audience, so um, um, they can fill up the exit ticket in the comments box. And one
So that'll be an assessment feedback for Rizwan.
and and just give me 1 second. I'm going to share the link with the audience.
Yes, sure.
Yes, now I'm going to share the screen. Miss, can you see the screen?
No,
Is it visual now?
not to me.
Let me share again. I have shared the exit ticket in the comment box. So the audience, you can fill up this exit ticket. You need to write your email address. You need to write your name. You need to write your country name, and there is option. Would you like to be a presenter? So in coming, we have some more sessions. So if you want to be a presenter here, you can put yes, and then what topic you like to present. So you need to write down elaborately what topic you want to present here, and what is one important thing that you have learned today. So you can write all the strategies what you have learned from today's session. And we have. Can you see the screen now, miss?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is one certificate for you, Miss Asnafar. She has prepared for you. So
Thank
this one.
you.
Thank you, miss. Thank you so much. And this is the exit ticket that I have shared the link already in the comment box. So those who wants to be present here, you can fill up. And those also even not wanted to be a speaker, but what you have learned, you just need to share with us, so we can get to know what are the things you have learned from today's session. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
I can see a lot of appreciations for me. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yes. Yes, they're saying thank you, Hannah ma'am, for such a wonderful session. It was a highly informative session. Thank you so much, Ginny Miss. And
Thank
uh,
you.
Hayat Miss wrote, yes, very informative session. Thank you so much for sharing your great presentation and experience. Yes, I really enjoyed it. I have a lot of strategies also from your session. I'm going to apply
Thank
to
you,
my
Rizwan.
classmates from now.
Thank you. I'm glad that like everybody's had some learning from this session. That is what my aim was. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I'm glad that this session has been successful.
Great. So I'm going to we are going to leave the session now. And good night from Bangladesh. And thank you, Miss,
Good night from
for
India
sharing
too.
all of your thoughts and experience. Thank you, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care.